Countdown. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stateside Sports. We have Craig with us today. Craig was with me in the original podcast days. He was head man of the golf, weren't you, Craig?
Oh, head man? No, I thought I was like Logan's. I was Logan's sidekick. I was head man from this side of the pond. That's how that worked.
Yeah, that worked. It was good. And Eric was just Eric. There's nothing else you could say about Eric.
No, he certainly brought a different dynamic to the podcast. So we had me, who neither the two of them could understand, then Logan, who knew what he was talking about, and Eric, who floated between the two of us. Equally knew what he was talking about, but brought his own unique style and fair use of the dump button, I'm sure, when you were trying to edit some of these podcasts.
I loved him. I absolutely loved Eric. But editing his stuff was a challenge. Let's just say that. It was definitely a challenge.
I can imagine. Having trying to set up on my own once Across the Pond kind of ceased, I have a new appreciation for the whole editing process. I was like, that's fine, just come on and you just talk for a while and then that's it, done and dusted. Not knowing that you were having sleepless nights having to try and edit these type of things, and it was taking days and days to get podcasts edited. And I think we can all agree you created a monster with that Across the Pond. Yeah,
I mean, Across the Pond Sports Network became a bit of a beast, let's be honest. And it's gone. It had its day. And now I kind of moved forward with Stateside Sports. But you moved on to Going OB Golf, and that looked quite good. Sounded good. You edited it well. So the sleepless nights that you had were well worth it. But how was that for you running your own podcast?
Okay, the actual getting people and having a chat is fine, right? Because I'm a very personable person. So getting somebody on, having a conversation about their golf stories and their golf life was dead easy. When it then became difficult was when you're trying to get the gremlins out the system, when you've got to edit the odd kind of sweary word that was in it, because we tried to keep it as kind of child friendly as possible to cater to all of them. That was a bit of a difficulty. The social media was definitely really, really difficult. Trying to do and keep up with the socials was the hardest part. And to be honest, I think that's probably what killed it for me, because I was quite happy to have a conversation with people, but trying to then plug it, and you're trying to record videos, and I was putting YouTube videos out, so you're recording them and it's getting watched by like 20 people. And I'm thinking, I've spent loads of time editing this video and editing this podcast, putting it out, and hardly anybody's listening to it. But I would thank every single one of my guests, because it really was good fun when I was doing it. So yeah, wrapped that up just about 6 weeks ago, and actually it's taken a weight off, knowing that I don't have to record an episode every week to make sure I get content out on time at that set day and getting all the socials and stuff done. So prior to that, at the end of last year, I ended up buying a ton of Rode stuff. So this mic, I've got 4 of these mics. I bought a Rodecaster Pro, which is like the one with all the buttons and whatever else, because I thought if I'm doing it, I'm going to do it properly. I want the quality to be good. So I'd actually boxed it all up, because that was the end of my podcasting career. And then my pal sends me a message, do you fancy coming on for a chat? So I've had to unbox all my stuff, because I want the quality to be as good for your listeners.
I appreciate that.
I was about to update my LinkedIn bio to say retired podcaster, but I suppose I'm now back into the circles. Aye. Thank you for having me on. I am here to speak about football, sports.
Yeah.
I have also just come back from Florida, where I was for the World Cup.
Aye.
Travelled down to Miami to watch the Scotland-Brazil game, which turned out an absolute disaster. We can cover that at some point.
We'll cover that.
I take it you have no objections to me giving my unfiltered opinions on...
Of course not. Never.
Steve Clark in particular.
I would definitely want to talk about him.
I'm not a fan, so we can get into that at a later date. But yes, thank you for having me. That was a very long-winded introduction I did for myself there.
Oh, mate, it's good. It has been a while. Obviously, you were the host of Across the Pond Golf for some time before you took on your own mini beast, if you like. Yeah, we've got the football. We've got the World Cup wrapped up yesterday. It was... probably, I mean, let's talk about the final first, because there's really not a lot to talk about. It shouldn't take long.
Way back from you. Yeah.
It was by far the worst game of football I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It was absolutely dire.
You had one team who was trying to play football in Spain, and you had one team in Argentina that seemed to want to go out and just have a fight.
Yes, pretty much. You had one team as well that were quite happy to keep the ball because they knew they'd be able to pass it about and break teams down, which is what Spain's done the whole tournament.
The whole tournament, yeah.
And then Argentina, who were like, we'll just try and hit them on the break, but then never got a chance to hit them on the break. So it just became an absolute stalemate. I'm really disappointed in Argentina, not just because I had them in the sweepstake and I stood to win some money. Had they actually got it over the line. Yeah, had they got it over the line. But yeah, they're one of these teams that you don't get to see very often. You only really get to see them at the World Cup. And everybody wants to see all the flair players and you want to see Messi. And he just never turned up. And yeah, the Argentinians never turned up. Spain did enough to get it over the line. I probably would have liked penalties. Just, it would have been a bit of excitement in that final. I thought the boy's goal was either going in the net, which it did, or rose Ed in that massively high stadium, because he hit it with some force and on an upward trajectory. So it was destined for either the faces of the people or the back of the net.
Yeah, it was a terrible game of football. Like I say, the worst I think I've ever seen. And kind of felt sorry for the commentators, because usually as a commentator, you want to be positive about the game and like in any way you can. Like you'll call a spade a spade. Like you got Ali McCoy's who was on ITV, that's the one I was watching, and like he will call a spade, and if something's good, it's good, if something's bad, it's bad. But I do think like guys like him tried to find that balance. But him and Lee Dixon were just they couldn't find anything positive to talk about the game until the goal went in. And that's when you could actually feel their energy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
But the stadium was full of Argentinians. So the stadium kind of went a bit quiet for a bit. And then I think the realisation that Lionel Messi was not going to win back-to-back World Cups, because before the tournament, the manager was asked, like, are you coming here to win the World Cup? And he says, no, we're not coming here to win the World Cup. We're here to retain the World Cup. So, like, they came into the tournament saying that this is our World Cup and we're taking it back with us. But obviously it wasn't to be. But absolutely their own fault. Absolutely, like, every game they went into, they just seemed to want to fight with everyone. Now, let's not be coy about it. When it comes to England, Argentina, like, that's always been a fixture when it comes around at a World Cup, that us Scots always like it, because it tends to be that Argentina get the win. But again, even in that game, like, there was a couple of players playing for Argentina that could have been sent off. Paredes yesterday, how that boy, I think Lee Dixon was doing a count of how many times he should have been sent off, and I think by the end of the game he'd got to about 7 times that he should have been sent off.
Yeah,
and he was absolutely right. And then the boy had the audacity to go and punch one of the Spanish players after the final whistle, and it sort of started a bit of an argy-bargy, a few swings. It got broken up quite quickly, in all fairness, but it was a pretty ugly way to finish off a World Cup.
Yeah,
but I think the right team won. The team that went there to play football won, which I think is good. Spain are a fantastic side. You look through that side and you look at the quality that they've got. I mean, even Yamal, 19 years old, they show the picture before the game, and it was Lionel Messi 20 years ago. Well, 19 years ago. In the bath. Holding Yamal. That was quite funny. But I really feel that Argentina really need to have a look at themselves, because that wasn't football. Not deserving of a World Cup final. Don't get me wrong, the pitch looked absolutely dire. Every time a player put in a long pass, it was bobbling along everywhere. Wasn't a great pitch. And the stadium itself is lovely, but it's not called the New Jersey, New York Stadium. It's called MetLife. But I don't know if when you were in the States, especially when you were at the Hard Rock Stadium where the Miami Dolphins play, it's obviously called the Miami Stadium for the World Cup. Did you notice that all the Hard Rock logos had all been covered over?
Yeah.
I
didn't realise until... because it was to do with the sponsorship or something, isn't it?
So because Hard Rock aren't a sponsor of the World Cup, basically, so for Gillette, what they did...
Seen that one.
Did you see the shaving foam? They put a shaving foam on their social media over the logo. Levi's basically just whited out their logo entirely on social media. But I thought, like, these companies pay millions in naming rights to have their name on a stadium, and the biggest sporting event in the world comes around, and they can't use Hard Rock. It has to be the Boston Stadium, the Miami Stadium. So that was a bit disappointing. I don't know. It's just an annoyance because, like, I know these stadiums as particular names because I see them every season in the NFL, and then all of a sudden it's Boston Stadium. No, it's not. That's where the New England Patriots play. That's Gillette. So that was a little annoying.
That's obviously a FIFA thing, eh? And it's a bit petty. So they've given up their ground, right, for the use of the World Cup, and they've said, yes, we will welcome all the people in here. We'll have all this infrastructure in place. You can bring as many people from every nation as you want, and we'll show off the best of America and the best of Canada and the best of Mexico, and we'll show you all the grounds. And then because Hard Rock don't pay enough money, or Gillette aren't a sponsor of the World Cup, they're like, no, I'm sorry, we're not allowing you to put your branding up on the stadium. Because the Mexican one was still referred to as, I need to say the Maracanã, but that was Brazil.
Yeah.
They called that the Azteca. So I don't see what the difference is. I want to quickly go back to your Argentina thing, right? I've got a theory with Argentina. So everybody, I was obviously away for the first couple of weeks, and everybody back home on the group chats were on about how dirty Argentina were, right? I was watching our Argentinian games in America. Now, I'm not saying they potentially were doing kind of live edits for it, or however the cameras were stuff. I didn't think Argentina were that dirty from the footage I was watching when I was in the States. Of course, I came back, started watching the game, we watched the England game and they're kicking all the players, and then we watched the Spain game and they're kicking all the Spanish players and stuff. My theory why the Argentinians kick people is because Messi gets it. Messi cannot go through a game without being kicked and shoved and pushed and punched, right? All the games, because he's so good, the only way to stop him, we'll just hammer him, right? As soon as you get out on the pitch, if you get a chance to get a kick in at Messi, get a kick in at Messi. And I think he's got a whole team of enforcers, right? Like the NHL. So the NHL's obviously got what they call the goons, the fighters and stuff.
The goon squad.
I think the whole of that Argentinian team, they're all told you protect him, right? And if that means that you're taking boys out and you're breaking people's legs and you're punching folk in the face, that's what has to happen. So I think they're masters of the dark arts, the Argentinians. They're protecting Messi, basically, right? Because he gets kicked and punched all the time. So I think they go out there with the sole intention of, let's put some really hard guys around about him that can protect him and allow him to do his thing. Now, Spain yesterday just equally got stuck in amongst it with the Argentinian guys, which then kept Messi quiet, because he didn't have the free rein and the spaces that would open up when his other players were going away and taking boys out. So that's my 50 pence worth on how dirty the Argentinians are and why.
And I think the commentary team last night kind of alluded to that a couple of times, that it does feel, especially at the end of the game once it was finished, like the Argentinian boys need to have a look at themselves, because, they all played for Messi, but they couldn't get Messi over the line. It ruined the whole tournament for me, because I think the tournament as a whole has been fantastic. It's been free-flowing football, fun football. We're going to get on to the Tartan Army as an example of the fans, but I think the final itself was pretty dull. The funniest thing, by the way, halftime show, get that to,
yes.
Super Bowl, absolutely. World Cup final, get it to. I'm no buying into that at all. Especially Justin Bieber. Me and Logan were sitting on the couch. Logan was like, this isn't very upbeat.
No, I know. But the thing is, football's has been a 45-minute half, a 15-minute break, and a 45-minute half since day dot, right? But they've added extra time onto that purely because it's a spectacle, and that's what they do in American sports, is they have the half-time show. But these guys are programmed to do 45, a 15-minute break, because they're all inside on bikes and they keep their cell moving so that they don't stiffen up over the 50 minutes. Yeah. You're then asking them to do an extra 15 minutes on top of that in the changing room, and then they've got to come back out again. So, it was a bit of a shambles. It's the same with these hydration breaks. That was purely money so making. The Americans could sell ad space.
Aye.
Because
in the UK,
when we were watching it, we were watching it over there, and every time it went to hydration break, it went to a split screen like we're on now, and it was showing whoever was paying the money for that, and then it had the other one with the both teams. Whereas here, they obviously weren't doing that.
No, over here, so there is a legality issue over here where you're only allowed to show ads before the game time, after the game. You're not allowed to show ads during a game. Some kind of legislation that states that you're not allowed to show ads during a game. And even though the hydration break is a break, it's still technically in the game. Advertisers in the UK couldn't take advantage, but just about every other country in the world could. And what is the one country in the world that benefits? Is the US, because the World Cup was in their country, so it benefited them for their ads. I know we had it in Qatar, but in Qatar temperatures were like 109, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So you would kind of
one of those stadiums, though, is the most air-conditioned building in the world. Whatever the newest stadium that they were playing in, it's air-conditioned. Yeah, let's still, 25 minutes in, let's stop and have a drink for a couple of minutes. It just ruined the whole flow of the game.
I think as well, like, you think it's almost like a timeout in basketball, because you get a 30-second or you get a 1 minute timeout, and that time's for the coach to go over tactics, what's working, what's not working, what the next play is. In football, we don't get that. You don't get it anywhere in football. Somebody asked the question, will they bring hydration breaks to the Premier League in like the hotter months, like in like August, September time? And I can't remember who. I think it might have been Roy Keane. He was like, get that out of here. It does not need whatsoever. He was like, it's not even needed at this World Cup. I think he admitted, like, Qatar, because the extreme heat that they were in. But I think somebody else said that, you know, advertisers cottoned on to that, and that they could show adverts through the hydration breaks, and that's why they were at the World Cup this time around, because somebody could make a quick buck. And let's be honest, FIFA do like to make a quick buck.
Yeah. I'll tell you who else made a quick buck from it. David Beckham. His face was absolutely everywhere on every advert on a hydration break. He sells everything.
He does.
Absolutely everything. If he could put his name to air, he would put his name to air. It's like every advert that came on at a hydration break or halftime or wherever else featured David Beckham.
To be fair, even here, he was on ads here. It was him, Henri and Steve Carell were doing Doritos, or it was Lay's, but it was Walkers.
It's Walkers and Lay's, yeah. And it's the one with like, come to a party.
Come to the party.
Yeah.
It was a weird combo.
All the time.
It was a weird combo, though, having Steve Carell with David Beckham and Thierry Henry. That was something.
No, he's
else.
He's one of the only ones that benefited from that
hydration break. Aye, David Beckham.
Well, hydration breaks. Yeah.
Right then, I suppose we better get on to the nitty gritty. Scotland.
First let me just give you an America story. Story first.
Go for it.
Right. So the feeling in America while we were there and the World Cup was on was really good. Right. Like, everybody was buzzing and you're all walking about with your shirts on and there's all the American guys coming up to you, because obviously football/soccer isn't their thing, right? It's pretty low down their pecking order, but they were all getting involved in it. And then I was talking to a lady at the airport on the way back. She was from Boston and she was coming over to Edinburgh for a visit, and she was going up to Inverness and she was doing all the stuff. So she was probably in her 70s or something. So we had a good conversation, and she said, you know what? America gets a lot of bad press, like, throughout the world. She said, however, at this moment, our stock is quite high because we're putting on a good tournament with our neighbours in Mexico and Canada, and the American team are doing really well and they're getting all the way through. She says, even I'm watching the soccer. She says, and I never watch the soccer these days. She said, but from now on in, I won't be watching it because, this is her quote, not mine, that yellow-haired idiot has ruined the goodwill of the Americans by phoning up FIFA and getting that red card rescinded, right? Up until then, people were quite happy seeing Americans go all the way through. And then all of a sudden, he steps in and gets that overturned, and the whole thing turns on its head. So Trump ruined the American World Cup.
For Americans.
I
mean, to be fair, don't know, were you in the States when that happened at that point? Because I think here in the UK and in Europe, it's all anybody could talk about is, so here's this thing. Trump said it quite a number of times. He's said this. He usually says this when somebody's been shot and killed in America, and it's like a high profile shooting. He will come out and he will say about basketball players specifically, like Giannis Antetokounmpo spoke out, Steve Kerr from the Warriors spoke out, LeBron James as well on numerous occasions. His line is, you're an athlete, shut up and dribble. Right, you're a politician, shut up and run your country, you fanny.
Yes.
Like, come on.
I agree with you. Yep, keep out of it. He should never, fair dues, he's the president of the country, right? And if he needs to have a presence within the World Cup, that's absolutely fine. But for it to come out like that, and then one of the statements I seen was when he was directly asked by a politician, by a journalist, like, did you tell Gianni Infantino to overturn that card. And he said, no, I don't have that sort of power. All I said to him was, you should maybe look into that referee. There's something a bit dodgy about him. And then all of a sudden, the next game day, that red card gets overturned.
Shockingly.
I know.
Infantino,
for a man who takes bribes, Infantino
is an absolute nightmare. If there was ever a second guy after Sepp Blatter that you didn't want running FIFA, he'd be the guy you didn't want.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the third guy would be Donald Trump, right enough, but you do not want this guy running FIFA. Like, we already seen it with UEFA. Michel Platini got done for corruption, which was quite a shock because everyone kind of thought he would maybe take over at FIFA, but then it turned out that he was just as corrupt as FIFA. So is it just because it's world football?
When there's sports, lots of money and lots of people wanting a bit of that pie, it brings out greed in people, and that is ultimately what happens.
This is what it comes down to. FIFA is a non-profit organisation, but it's the richest non-profit organisation in the world, and they pretty much print money. When you put on a World Cup, you're printing money, especially when you're charging $1,000 minimum for a ticket for a game. Because that's the other thing. We'll talk about the Tartan Army now. The Tartan Army, I've seen some people talking that they'd remortgaged their houses, they'd taken out massive loans. Like one boy said on the TV, he'd spent £10,000 between flights, hotels, and tickets. That didn't include his drinking money.
Yep.
That's
insane.
It was.
We were speaking to people. So we were in Miami for the Brazil game. We flew into Orlando, which we were doing for the family holiday. We drove down to Miami for the day, went to the fan zone, and as is the way, you get chatting away to people. Everybody's speaking. What a great atmosphere there was in the fan zone at South Beach. Not a bit of trouble. Everybody in together. Plenty of alcohol. You know, you're on the beach there. There was security. They did bag checks. Put on a really, really good event. And that's what it should have been about. And all the guys that were there from the Tartan Army, I'm speaking about to some of them had done the full trip. So they'd been to Boston. They'd then gone to New York for a few days, back to Boston for the other one, and then back down to Miami, and they were going to be there for the whole time. And some of them were like, we'll not be getting a family holiday now for 2 or 3 years because I've came out here with the boys to watch the football. So they are sacrificing all that money to go all the way over there. And Steve Clark, who I am not a fan of, tries to go all defensive against Brazil when we need to try and get a result. It was already done and dusted. Why he didn't go kind of gung-ho and try to get something. When we qualified for the World Cup, I was buzzing. But I put in my group chat with all the guys in the village where I stay that Steve Clark was not the man to be in charge of Scotland at the World Cup. And I was hammered by them all. What are you talking about? He's the most successful Scottish manager we've had. He's got us to Euros. He's got us to the World Cup. He deserves his chance. And at the time, I said to them, this will be a boys' holiday. He will take all the old guard, Shea Adams, Grant Hanley, Lyndon Dykes, Ralston, all these boys that have stuck by him, and fair dues to him, I will give him that. If you're loyal to Steve Clark will be loyal to you. But all that happened there was he took all his pals on a holiday to Florida, and the football interrupted their trips to Disneyland. So I'm glad he's gone. I am glad he's gone.
I am glad he's gone. The thing is, he was interviewed and he did say, why would I bring players that I've not used before? He actually said, why would I bring players that I've not tried and tested?
Was that when he decided to actually speak to the media? Because he's ignorant as well. You know, they put a microphone in front of him and they're like, what about that, Steve? Oh, I'm not talking about that. And then he just walks off.
He's prickly. So, wee bit of history of Steve Clark. He was the assistant manager many, many moons ago to Jose Mourinho when Jose Mourinho was in his first stint at Chelsea. Steve Clark and Mourinho were talked about almost as if they were brothers, because whatever Mourinho was wearing, it was like they'd coordinated. Steve Clark would be wearing the same thing. If Jose Mourinho had a shave, Steve Clark had a shave. If Mourinho had a beard, Steve Clark had a beard. So they were talked about like distant cousins or something like that. And I think that's where he gets his demeanour. I don't think that's a Scottish demeanour in the slightest that he has. I mean, when you look at some of the athletes that we have in Scotland that are very well spoken, happy to talk to the media, even when things are going badly. If things go badly, we pretty much put up our hands and say, aye, that was shite. Sorry. He didn't. he never even apologised. It was just, well, what are you asking me that for? Because obviously that was going to be the case. And then just, I'm not answering this. I'm not doing this. And I felt sorry for the reporters because they're out there doing a job. They're away for their families, by the way. Now, yes, they're getting paid for it and all this kind of stuff. But the media are out there to cover the team. And the team were based in Charlotte. And from what I seen is when he did turn up to the press conferences, he was there for about 2 minutes and then he buggered off. It was the players themselves. Now, obviously, you mentioned some of the players, and those were the players that were like, yeah, we love Steve. Steve's great, blah, 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 blah. Of course he's great. He's just taking you out to a World Cup. You've barely played 2 minutes for your club for half a season.
It was a boys' club.
But do you know what it reminded
me
of?
And that boys' club mentality now doesn't work.
No.
That's old school.
But do you know when else it didn't work? 1998. Craig Brown did the exact same thing. He took all the old guard. And who did we get pumped off? Morocco and Brazil. Come on. Because when the draw got made, I was like, we just needed Norway. That was the only one we needed. And we would have played bingo because that's who we had.
And just as well, we didn't get them.
Just as well, because they were flying on all cylinders as well. But
yeah,
Haiti, went into the World Cup, I said, we'll squeak past Haiti. We did. I said we'd draw against Morocco, but it would be, I thought we'll score first and then they'll break our hearts in the 90th minute and then we'll get spanked off Brazil. And almost happened. Yeah. Morocco were fantastic, in all fairness. It was a shame that I can't remember the boy's name. Their best player ended up injured later on in the tournament, but yeah. They looked so good. Now, a couple of people have said, there was 1 or 2 defensive errors that gave away goals. But like, if you're not playing your old guard, if you're bringing in young, talented players, you look at England, you look at Spain, maybe not so much Argentina, but if you look at the Englands and Spains, look at the youth that they've brought through.
Well, I had to ask numerous times when England were playing. I have something to say to Oscar. Who's that? Who's he play for? Who's that? Who's he play for? I had hardly heard of most of that England team. I know, most of that England team. And that's because they boys are good enough, so let's get them on the plane. You're not telling me there wasn't a better defender than Grant Hanley, and yet they've still given him a free holiday to the States. Like I said, Shea Adams does nothing. Ralston is murder every time he comes on. McGinn scored that goal, didn't do much after that. McTominay was going to be the one that was going to set the heather on fire. That never happened either. Old boys were going to do right and just limp through the game. And the ones that we needed to pull us through didn't turn up.
I think with the McTominay thing, there's the Billy Gilmore aspect that you have to think about. Billy Gilmore and McTominay played together at Napoli, and it was very much thought that them playing together in the centre of midfield, or McTominay just ahead, would give him, because McTominay was dropping back deep at times, really, really deep. And it was almost as if, hang on, Billy should be pushing me forward here. Why? Oh, he's not here. And I've seen that a number of times, that McTominay would drop back. And I do feel like if Billy Gilmore had been fit, unfortunately he got injured right before the World Cup. Because of that, I feel like that's why McTominay needed that, almost like a backbone to say, you're no playing here, get up front. It was dire.
But I mean, Gannon Doak was the most influential player in the team.
Yeah.
He does, right? And he's rapid. I mean, Stacey doesn't watch a lot of the football, but she watched that and she was like, he's really good. He gets the ball and he tries to get forward all the time. And then that clown drops him for the Morocco game. Didn't even start him. No. The most attacking-minded player we've got, who is not afraid to get the ball and drive forward. You can just sit on the bench, mate. We're going to start with somebody else.
The substitutions as well, when he did make the substitutions, you're like, aye, mate, that was 10 minutes too late. Cheers for that.
Yeah.
Steve Clarke go in. What do you think about, because this has happened with a few teams, we've heard England as well moan about this. You've signed like an extension before the tournament. Should you not be signing the extensions after the tournament?
I would have thought so. Yeah, it should have been performance-based.
Yeah.
However, because he quit and walked away, I assume that extension just becomes null and void. It'd have been a different case if he'd have signed that and then say they'd had to sack him, because they will then have to pay up the remainder of his next 4 years of a contract. Yeah. So I suppose from that side of things, he's done the right thing and walked away. But the biggest question now is going to be who comes in to replace him. Now,
well, it's no Ange Postecoglou, is it?
To be fair, I would have taken Big Ange.
Oh, I couldn't.
As you know where my loyalties lie, right? As a Rangers man, I am programmed not to like the other side of the city, right?
Yes.
However, Ange Postecoglou, when he was at Celtic, I liked him. I thought he was brilliant with the media. He had them playing like attack-minded football. I thought he was a really good manager. Then he goes down to Tottenham, he wins them the European Cup, and then he gets bulleted because they didn't do very well in the league. So if Big Ange had been the man for
You're forgetting Nottingham
Scotland
Forest
job,
though. He had a nightmare in Nottingham Forest.
But that was more the owner, wasn't it?
I mean, a lot of that was
issues with the owner.
I mean, the previous manager done a fantastic job, so it was going to be a lot to live up to. He came across very prickly during his time at Nottingham Forest, very much like Steve Clarke, because he was just getting asked the same questions over and over again because inevitably he wouldn't answer them. It was a bit of a shame. I don't know where you go. Well, some people said if Derek McInnes hadn't went to Rangers, he'd have been a good shout, but I would disagree because he's got zero European football experience. And I think if you're going to manage a national side, I think it helps to have been at a club where you've been playing in Europe.
Aye. Or have been in that setup. You know, so like McLeish was there at times as like assistant coaches when Walter Smith was there and stuff. So you're learning from that and how this whole thing works about. Saying that, I don't think Stephen Naismith is the answer.
No.
Who's obviously one of the assistant coaches.
I don't think now's the right time for Stephen Naismith, but that's not to say that in the future, actually, he might be a good shout.
I mean, and I've also got this thing about, because after the Bertie Vogts disaster years ago, it'll only be Scottish managers that manage the national team and things, but I wouldn't be against a foreign manager. You'd have to do the homework and have somebody that really wants to be there and that potentially looks at giving youth a chance, because it needs a complete overhaul. Like all these boys I'm talking about, the old guard, they need to go now. So it needs to be somebody that's coming in and being like, this is how we are planning on taking this forward. Because if you look at Spain as a prime example, their team were all really young players yesterday, right? And they're bringing in new younger players all the time. Whereas the Argentina one, that's going to be a rebuild. Because a lot of it, like their goalie's away, Messi's away. I can't remember, Otamendi, he's away. So some of their more influential players are going to disappear. So they're going to have a bit of an overhaul again.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to need to happen for Scotland. So again, it's potentially going to be another year or two of hurt and disappointment and not getting to things. But if in the long run we then get a nucleus of players that can continue on after that, that's what needs to happen. But
I think we do have some young talent. You've got Gilmore, who I mentioned earlier. You've got Hickey. We probably don't have enough right now, but I do think we have some good talented players there that are young enough. But you're right, we have to get rid of this old guard. I mean, this is what happened in '98 with the team that he took out, like Craig Burley, Tom Boyd, like all these players. They were passing their prime, if not already past, and we still kind of stuck with them because they got us to the World Cup. And it was just hard, right? You even look at Kevin Gallagher in that World Cup. Yes, he had scored, like, I think it was the most goals in qualification, but then he got to the World Cup and he was absolutely murder. Couldn't finish his dinner. So I think sometimes it's a stage though. Sometimes it is that, hang on, qualification's one thing, but a World Cup game. And I think against Haiti that showed. And that's why I always thought that game, because you know what Scotland's like. If for anyone who doesn't know what Scotland's like, we can go and play San Marino and beat them 1-0, whereas Spain will turn up to San Marino and beat them about 12-0.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're England and the fastest goal in World Cup qualification happens and it's San Marino that scored it, and that's fine. But I'm glad he's gone. Hopefully we can see what's next for England though. I don't know how you feel, but before the tournament, during the tournament, right up until the semi-final, I really felt like all of England, especially England's media, were behind Big Tam.
There's no many Tams in Germany.
But then all of a sudden he loses and Saka
out the door.
Like the amount of pundits, former players and all the rest of it, get rid of him. He needs sacked. And you know the person who stood against it was Gary Neville, which shocked me because usually he likes to go with the crowd. He said, no, it's his first tournament. It's his first shot at international management. We had to have known this before we gave him the job. He needs more. He's got us our best results since 1966. He's got us third place.
Then, like, I've never heard what happened in
I know.
1966.
I mean, I gave it 2 minutes on the BBC broadcast before they mentioned it back way
James, I
when.
said that yesterday, right? Because we were going up to the Village Hall to watch it, right? And they had it on the BBC up there, and we had it on BBC before we went up the road. And I had to message the guys, and I'm like, is this a World Cup pre-show, or is this an England World Cup roundup? Because that was all they wanted to speak about. So I'm going to get my point across now, right, while I'm on my high horse with this.
Right, go.
I have no ill will to the England players. I have a lot of friends. I've got some family members that are English. If England had won the World Cup, I would be absolutely delighted, right? My pal Paddy, my pal Ian across the road, I'd be buzzing for them, right? That their team had won the World Cup, and deservedly so, because they played the best. But the media, I cannot stand. And people can't understand why. So again, when we were over in America, and which another weird thing was, they kept saying, are you watching the UK, the United Kingdom match tonight? And I'm like, the what? And they're like, the United Kingdom match. They meant England. So they would ask if I was watching it, and we then say, well, we probably will watch it, but we don't want them to win. Why don't you want them to win? Well, we're from Scotland. Yeah, but it's the same country. No, it's not the same country. It's a completely different country. And at one point, I did say to somebody, it would be the equivalent of the US wanting the Canadians to win at hockey, right? Because they would never want that to happen. Because it's your rivals, and you don't want to see them doing well. On a personal level, I would like to see them do well because I've got pals who I would be happy for. But the media just drum it into us. They won the World Cup in 66, but you have done nothing since. You have done nothing since. You were on the cusp there, and you finished in... Got to the semi-final, got beaten in the semi-final. Everybody's slagging off Tuchel. Then they finished third, and they win a nice wee bronze medal, and it's, we'll get them on next time. We're going to be world beaters again. Why? Because you dismantled France, who were already booked on the plane home, and half their players were thinking, right, we're on holiday now. Didn't really care. Holiday mode on the beach, didn't want to turn up. So
I agree.
Well done, England. Well done, England, for getting to a semi-final. You were unlucky, but we don't need to hear about it all the time. And us being, is the word browbeaten? And that you've done this and you've done that. You have done nothing since 66, so can we give it a rest?
So before I give my diatribe on England, I absolutely agree with what you said. I too as well have English friends and colleagues. Again, like, I absolutely love the players that England have. Some of them are the most talented in the world. You got Jude Bellingham. I mean, I do take the mick out of Harry Kane quite a lot.
Brilliant player.
But he is a brilliant player. I love sometimes the defenders that England can bring through, because some of them, John Terry's, like
Rio Ferdinand, all these boys.
And then you look at midfielders that England have brought through, like David Beckham, obviously, Paul Scholes, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, all these players. Up front, you've had Alan Shearer, Gary Lineker, you've had Wayne Rooney, outstanding players. And you do have to question why they haven't won the World Cup since. And sometimes I actually think it's ego that stops them from getting over the line. And I think that
pressure.
Ego and the pressure.
The extra pressure that's put on them.
It's the pressure from the media. It's not the fans. Because I will say this right now. I think England fans, I mean, the ones that were in the US shouting Scotland get hammered everywhere they go, yous can all get it right up yous. But for the real England fans, the people I know, I absolutely love the England fans. It's the English media that I have an issue with when it comes to international football, because they are so like rose-tinted glasses until they lose. And then when they lose, it wasn't our fault. It was somebody else's fault. It was the referee's fault. And I think Big Tam, I think he's the easy scapegoat. And I think for the media, that's why not every pundit, obviously, that was on these broadcasts, but the majority of them, get him out. He's had his chance. But my question, we're asking, who does Scotland get next? Who would England go and get? Like, who is there really that, one, would want the job, and two, is that would actually be able to do the job? There's not very many.
No, there's not. And that wasn't, it was on Tuchel to try and go defensive. Yeah. And I think he's held his hands up to that, hasn't he? He acknowledged that, like, taking the strikers off and going five at the back and try to defend that lead. See what they do. I don't know how much of your listeners will watch or know about the SPL, right? But for years and years and years, any team that scores a goal at Parkhead against Celtic, right, try and shut up shop.
Aye, park the bus.
And inevitably, what happens is Celtic keep on going, and that's an Ange Postecoglou thing. They keep going right to the last minute, and they score so many goals in the last 5 minutes or into injury time or whatever else. Now, whether there's a bit of corruption there, I think so. But whether there's a bit of corruption there and the SPFL need Celtic to win these things for whatever else, that's up for debate, and I will come back on your show and we can discuss that again at length, right? But that mentality of keep going is what they should have been doing, but they didn't. He's shat the bed and he's been like, right, we're 1-0 up against Argentina here, let's try and sit back. And then Argentina have done a Celtic. They've kept going. They were going to get breaks because the England players were tired, and I mean they scored 2 good goals, didn't they? That rifle of a shot and then the cross back in again for Messi. And I love the wee memes now of Bellingham going up and trying to wind Messi up and Messi just being like, all right, okay, I'll start playing now. And then he does. Aye. And then look what happens, 2 goals in 7 minutes or whatever it turned out to be.
I mean, England go to a World Cup, they go to European Championships, and again, the media, not the fans. I want to be clear. But the England media just going, it's either it's coming home or England expects, or like some kind of mantra along those lines. And I just feel, even going back to 98, which was, I mean, I do remember a little bit of Italia 90. England obviously won in the USA in 94. It was almost the same thing. It's almost this, you're going to go up against your biggest rival, Argentina. England is a big rival game. And on that occasion in 98, it was David Beckham. He was the scapegoat. And he got it tight for years from England fans. Like whenever he'd go to Crystal Palace or Highbury or whatever, he would get it tight. Thomas, Big Tam, he doesn't have to go to these stadiums. So no. I actually think he can take that on his shoulders. And I mean, he will obviously go to these stadiums because they want to watch these players. And they've got a Spain game coming up in September. They're going to be wanting up for that. But I think, again, you'll see quite a balanced team that he takes.
Yeah.
I don't want him to quit. I don't think he should. I don't think he deserves to. I think, they've given him faith in that contract that they've given him, and I think he needs to stay it out at least till the end of the Euros and see what you can do then. But what I will say, England might expect, but when it comes to the Euros, you're going to be going up against the European and world champions. So it's not like they've done it once. Oh no, they've now done the World Cup as well. So where we need to be realistic, we weren't getting out that group, Scotland is. England also need to be realistic. The world rankings came out before the tournament. 1 and 2 were in the final, 3 and 4 were in the third place playoff. So, I mean, we talk about FIFA being corrupt, but
they got it right on that occasion.
They actually got something right for a change. So it's a hard one, but
so have they got Spain next in a friendly then?
It's a Nations League game.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to beat Spain and then it's going to be like, we're now the unofficial world champions because we beat the world champions.
But do you know what happened in 1967?
We beat them.
We beat England.
To become the unofficial world champions.
To become the unofficial world champions. So just want to put that out there.
It's good enough for us. Good enough for us to be social name.
We'll get the final word. The Tartan Army, you've mentioned them, we've both mentioned them a few times now. They turned up in Boston. They were absolutely phenomenal. If I ever wanted to be anywhere in the world at any point in time, it would have been Boston for those 2 weeks. Then she went to the Boston Red Sox game, and Red Sox fans just about had a heart attack when suddenly Sweet Caroline was getting sung, and there was no music. It was just the fans decided, we'll just sing this then. It was a phenomenal experience, I think, for all the fans that did go out to Boston and Miami. Some of the stories that have come out, the Boston governor wanting to twin the city with Glasgow. I'm sure I've seen a cone ceremony.
Yeah, they've taken a cone back over.
They take a cone back over to Boston.
And they've legalised haggis.
Have they? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's now officially legalised in
Massachusetts.
In Boston, so you can get haggis when you go over to Boston.
Because actually it's not legal to take into the States because of the stomach lining of the sheep. Did you know that?
Yes.
Because I never knew that. My parents obviously live out in the States. So I'll bring you some haggis. And my mum was like, no, didn't bother. Donald Trump will be sending you straight back. So, mind you, talking about somebody that can't get off a stage.
Well, exactly.
Spain won the World Cup. No, you. Do you want to go off the stage,
Yeah.
son? Anyway, but the Tartan Army were absolutely phenomenal, and I think I would go back to '98. I was fortunate to be on a basketball tour in Spain during the '98 World Cup, and sadly we had to drive from Scotland all the way through England, all the way through France into Spain on a coach, which was very cramped, and for basketball players, not the most comfortable. I mean, I'm only 5'8", so it doesn't bother me. But Big Matty, he was what, 6'9",
Yeah.
something like that. That wasn't very comfy for him. So I think like we stopped off somewhere, and it was Japan and Jamaica fans that this rest stop that we were at, and the atmosphere was phenomenal. And I thought about that when I was looking at some of the scenes from Boston and from Miami. I noticed that when the Tartan Army did first arrive in Miami, the police didn't really know what to do, because some boy was putting a cone on top of a statue and he got huckled. Get that done for there now. And he was like, wait, I'm just putting it up. Get it done. And then about 6 hours later, the cone's up there and the copper's got like his arm round the guy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do think Boston is definitely a town that probably needs to restock on beer. That's for sure, because apparently we drank them dry. The English were only too happy. The Dubliner, but them putting the sign up, there's nothing happening today in Boston, so we're giving our staff the day off because they've been working hard for the last 2 weeks, filling the Scots with beer. And I just thought that was hilarious. And obviously on that day, England were playing in Boston. That was absolutely hilarious. One thing I did see a lot of videos about was people from Boston, and a lot of them were quite unhappy with the English because of their anti-Scots rhetoric that they went with.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that did them any favours. So I would like to say to England, although we may not support you, we don't sing derogatory songs about you.
We went back to Florida, as I said, and for the 4th of July, we went to a town called Davenport because they were opening a new sports pavilion, right? And it had 2 American football fields. It had 3 baseball, softball diamonds, and it was a big thing for the community. And it was like a proper American 4th of July, right? They had food trucks, and you could go on the American football pitch and throw things and stuff. So we went along with my neighbours because they were in Florida at the same time. We all went down to celebrate with them. I had my kilt on. So we walked round up towards where the new softball diamonds were, and I got talking to one of the media guys, the photographers from it, and the guy was going to take my photo, and I was like, why don't we take a photo inside the diamond? And I said, have you got a ball? And I'll try and throw a ball or run like round the diamond or something. He's like, come on, we'll go and we'll get that done. So we're walking into the cage, and as we're walking into the cage, the mayor of Davenport walks towards us. So the press guy's like, Lady Mayor, this is Craig, we're going to take a picture. And I was like, come on, we'll go and get a photo taken. So I goes into the softball diamond with Donna, who was the mayor of Davenport, and we got her a picture taken. She was then telling me that her partner is originally from Boston, and that they were obviously sharing the stories. So she was like, it was such a good atmosphere. She says, we've obviously got family up there. They were loving the fact that the Scots were there. So I said to her, well, what we should do is we should get Davenport twinned with Midlothian, and I can come and be the official spokesperson. I said, and you can fly me out. I'll come over every 4th of July. I'll wear my kilt and we can do some sort of... I think she's going to look into that for me.
I love that.
Yeah, of course.
Somebody looking for a free
representative.
holiday.
Yes, the official representative of Scotland for our link with the city of Davenport. So, yes, Mayor Donna, if you're listening, that offer is still there. I am more than willing every 4th of July to fly out to Florida and represent Scotland at your 4th of July celebration.
I mean, an offer's been made, so
you'll have to tag her in this.
We'll have to tag her and make sure she's in. And if you've got the picture, you'll need to send it to me.
I will send it to you.
But that's phenomenal. And the thing is, like, it's not even just World Cups. I mean, I've been out to the States a lot. I was there as a kid and kind of growing up, and then obviously I've went back as an adult quite a lot into different parts, whether it be California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, even Oregon, and up in Oregon. And wherever we go, I will say, like, they hear the accent and then they're like, oh, you're from Scotland? So it immediately, even if you go up to passport control or immigration over there, you go up, and I remember this was 4 or 5 years ago. I landed in New York and waited 90 minutes. 10 minutes. But anyway, I got to the front of the line. Now, I've waited 90 minutes, right? And I swear to God, this woman looked at my passport. In fact, I don't even think she looked at my passport. She scanned it, didn't even look at me, just scanned it. And she just went, "You visit your parents, yeah?" I was like, "Yeah, that's right." "Great, have a good trip." And gave me my passport back. I was like, I was expecting to get like 20 questions or something.
Aye.
Nightmare. But I
We
just think
normally get
sometimes.
we normally get the, "Sir, can you tell me what the name of your hotel is that you're staying at in Florida?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I'll pass you on to my wife, because I don't know any of these questions. I never book any of these, these type of things. I've got no idea where I'm staying." I'm
No
like,
idea.
"Mate, I just lift and carry the suitcases. I pick them up from one end and I pick them up off the conveyor belt at the other. That's as much as I do."
Aye, that sounds about, that's how it should be, to be fair.
Yes.
So,
yes.
but it's always good, because I think people out in the States, they hear the Scottish accent. I actually do think that, we know the political state of the US. We know that there's a lot of issues. But I do think one thing for this World Cup was the Tartan Army being there. I know Norway had their thing with the rowboat and all the rest of it, but I don't think any other fan base would have had as big an impact on a World Cup than the Tartan Army did. Organised, like going to Fenway Park, going to the Red Sox game, or even in Miami when they went to the Marlins game. Whoever organised that, those are the people that spread goodwill all the way across America, even though they were really on the East Coast. But there was people in Utah talking about, "I'm going to support Scotland because I love their fans."
Yeah.
Like that's how far it reached. I mean, the Midwest of America, which is desert and desolate sometimes, especially at this time of year. But even there was, let's follow Scotland because we love their fans. We love the way they behave. We love the fact that they've went into Boston, they've drank it dry, and yet they're still happy. They're still partying. Because one of the best things I've seen was they turned up to a pub and it had no beer left. And the guy says, "I'm going to have to jump in my truck and go to the wholesaler or whatever." Members of the Tartan Army said, "I will come with you and give you a hand." And then you've got things like, they were having in Scotland, this is called a carry-out. So you get basically a bag of booze and sit in the park and have a drink. Not like the cleaners, the people that look after the parks were like, "We've turned up. There's no mess. It's all been piled into one wee bit. So all we need to do is come in with a bin and just pick it up and it's job done."
Yeah.
We're not having to go round the park and pick up cans or anything like that. They were like the most respectful fans we've ever seen come through. So
Prior to coming on tonight, they've actually won an award. They won the award for the Norwegians for the row, won the second one. So the No Scotland No Party was first and the Norwegian ones for the row. What I will say, my finishing thought on this, right? I know we're saying about the Scotland talent pool and who we're going to be getting next and whatever else. I think we need to have a bit of patience, right? Because some of the stories from some of the guys I've heard out in America, a lot of kids that are going to be eligible to play for either Scotland or America.
I've heard this as well.
So we might have a bigger talent pool now to go looking for potential superstars.
They're expecting in 9 months' time a Scottish Bostonian baby boom, is what I've heard.
And then in 16 years' time, when they're old enough to play for the country and they'll have to make a decision, and they'll say, "Oh, my daddy's from Scotland," and then they'll come and play for us. And then we'll be good at world football.
There is a love story that's gone on. A guy from Bonnyrigg called Tommy Morrison, I want to say. And he went to the baseball game at Fenway Park, and the young lady that he met there is flying over here in August to be with him. So, I mean, love stories have come out of the Tartan Army being in Boston as well. I'm sure that's not the only one.
All these politicians spend an absolute fortune, right, flying around the world trying to get like the, international relations and stuff. All you needed was a couple of 100,000 guys in skirts, and that's what happened.
That's what happens. I mean, the governor was drinking Iron Brew. Somebody got an Iron Brew. They were drinking. But I have actually reached out to the office of the governor of Boston to ask her if she'd like to be a guest on the podcast. But I mean, that's what we should do. We should have your mayor of Davenport, the governor of Boston, and we can talk all things Scottish and how they've influenced America this summer.
Are you trying to get a free trip to America now as well?
I mean, I wouldn't say
if it's on the table. If it's on the
table. But one last thing, we'll end on this. I am a big NFL fan, and one of the stories that have come out of Boston is Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. So impressed with what the Tartan Army were able to do and provide to the city of Boston and surrounding areas, because obviously the stadium's in Foxborough, which is outside of Boston, as he has said he would like the New England Patriots to play a game in Scotland, Murrayfield in Edinburgh, which back in the 90s, by the way, did field an NFL Europe team, the Scottish Claymores. So it wouldn't be the first time that it's held an American football game.
Do you know how I know that there used to be a Scottish American football team?
How's that? Because I tell you.
Because my wife was a cheerleader for them.
Was she?
Yes.
She was too young. Because I was 16 when they were here.
Yeah, she was one of the younger ones that got thrown about all over the place. But yeah.
I mean, that's a good bit of trivia, that. So, aye, Murrayfield have said they're open to the idea. So we just need Roger Goodell to sign it off, I think. I don't think it'll be this season. I think it would be next season because the calendars and stuff have already been set. The season's about to begin anyway in August, so beginning of September. So I don't think it'll happen this season. But I think opening game for the New England Patriots next year, Murrayfield Stadium, Edinburgh, against, just going to call this now, the Dallas Cowboys.
All right.
America's team.
America's team, yeah.
Against the Patriots. James sitting there in his Dallas Cowboys jersey. Is
that what you see happening?
That's what you see happening. Probably not. Right. But Craig,
I'm glad you touched on that because I've spoken to you about it the last few years. So I'm in a fantasy football team, but I am humpty at it, right? Because I don't follow American football really. I don't know what I'm doing. So I know. So I always finish DFL. But this year, a couple of the big hitters in the fantasy league have moved on because they're in like 3 or 4 different leagues.
You end up getting into a bunch.
And it gets a bit too tricky. So I think I've got a chance this year, James. So I'm going to come to you and get a bit of insider knowledge on who I need to pick. However, what has changed the dynamic again is that Oscar's now going to put a team in because he thinks he can pick a better team than me. So it's going to be a bit of a head-to-head with two of us trying to finish ahead of each other. So I need a bit of help.
I'm the right guy to come to because funnily enough, and I'm going to bring this up because I think he might listen to this, is I won my semi-final match in the playoffs by 0.1. And I did so against a guy who traded me the player that got me that 0.1.
Oh, that's a Syrian.
Then I got to the final, and I think I won the final by about 20 points. So that wasn't that kind of special. I won the league last year, but Dan Saxon, his nickname is 0.1. Anytime I talk to him now, I just call him 0.1. But he sent out the invites for this season. So I've signed up, obviously. And my new team name this year is 0.1.
Just to rub it in.
Just to rub it in. But Craig, mate, thank you so much for coming on. It's been
no worries.
Pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
Good talking to you again. Hopefully we can do it again soon. I think we should, especially about football and everything that's going on in the world of sports.
That because as I said to you, that's where my problem was. Do you know what my fantasy team was called last year? No. My Kittle Pony.
Kittle Pony. That's quite good. I like how you used the George Kittle. And I take it you had George Kittle on your team.
No, I never got him in my team. I picked the name before I picked the team.
You can't use somebody's name that you've not got in your team.
I think I might have had him in towards the end, but yes, I am more than happy to jump on here and have a bit of a chat with you. Anytime you need somebody, we'll definitely need to get one before the fantasy football season starts, so you can give me a few pointers. But you can't put it out until after the draft's been done. Otherwise, the boys will steal all my picks.
Everybody will know who you're picking. Aye, brilliant. Awesome. Thanks you so much, Craig.
No worries. Take care.